All right, so today we are talking about how to use artificial intelligence to double your marketing output. This is me. I've got 18 years of experience doing digital marketing and SEO. 10 of those were in nonprofits. I've actually been doing communications for even longer. I've got like 35 experience. Previous to running my own business, I built and ran Ketchum's online marketing and analytics team, supporting their clients globally. I've talked about voice search. I'm actually kind of an early watcher of the internet. I developed for my first website in 1994. I also wrote the first study on consumer adoption of wearable computers when I was at Georgetown. And I run a podcast called the Digital Marketing Victories Podcast, which is actually about the human soft skills involved in digital marketing success, kind of the polar opposite of what we're talking about today. I worked with a variety of brands. You can notice a lot of health and science because that's a passion of mine. And in fact, the goal of my business is to get scientific answers into the hands of our clients' target audience. And in fact, it's one of my concerns about AI being rolled out in search is whether or not we can still ensure that quality science is being found. The other reason I was interested in giving this presentation is I worked for a decade in nonprofits. And so I fully understand the challenge of being the only one doing marketing with no support and having 1,000 things to do. And I think AI can really help in that regard. So here's today's agenda. We're going to start talking about search and how it's been using artificial intelligence historically, what's going on now with the chatbots, the impact that AI could have on your marketing output. I'll share with you some research. I'm going to give you an update about the limitations of AI tools, some things that you should watch out for when you're using them. We're going to walk through how Google views AI content and what you should be doing in relation to using AI for content. Then I'm going to walk through a bunch of AI tools, including ChatGPT, giving you some prompts, sort of outlining a variety of tools that you could use. In fact, during this presentation, I'm going to be referencing, I have a full guide to about 130 of these tools. Honestly, it feels like every day there's new ones that are being developed, but I'll give you the link at the end so you can go ahead and grab that guide. Then we're going to walk through how you would integrate this into your organization, things you should think about. I want to close thinking a little bit about the larger societal impacts of using AI in this sort of way, as well as my thoughts on how this might change SEO. All right, so why does this all matter? Well, the background is that search engines have been using AI for years. Ray Kurzweil, who has been at Google for at least 10 years, has been working on building a brain for Google. He's a premier expert in artificial intelligence. He developed natural language processing. It's got like 42 patents to its name. And that's been his focus. He's still at Google, director of engineering. And so he built out this knowledge graph, which is the Google brain, basically. And in the knowledge graph, there are entities, those are people, places, and things, and they're put in relation to each other, builds an overall ontology, and each entity has various attributes. So I am Katherine Watier. I'm an entity. I am the owner, which is an attribute, of WO Strategies, which is a company that's an entity based in McLean, Virginia, another entity. So that's the idea. And the knowledge graph was built off of existing databases and schema.org markup on websites. And now it's being improved constantly with ongoing search queries. In fact, Ray's been working on this computer brain for a while. Here's his quote from 2013. He says, "We will know what you're interested in, not just the topic, but the specific questions and concerns you may have. I envision years from now that the majority of search queries will be answered without you actually asking." So a couple years ago, Google rolled out this topic layer on top of the knowledge graph that helps them understand how topics interact with each other. And then more importantly, you as a searcher, when you're learning about topics, how content should change to address your growing expertise in that topic. And talking about searches without providing content without searches, Google has Google Discover, which is available on Android phones. And that's where Google can provide content to you based on your browsing history, your interest in some machine learning. And that is used as an output of them having a topic layer on top of the knowledge graph. It actually has a higher click-through rate from search. The average click-through rate is 7 to 15%. So it's worth you having a strategy to see if your content could be discoverable in Discover. And one of the ways you would do that beyond some obvious stuff related to like the length of content, the type of image you use, etc., because a lot of the stuff that's shown there is image or video. But if the user has previously engaged with your content, you're going to have more of a chance of ranking. So that's the history of AI. So AI has been a part of search for a while, but now we have these chatbots. So here's Bing. Bing rolled out their chatbot. Their chatbot's code name is Sydney. This is what it looks like if you actually chat with it in Bing. So this is me wondering how you would explain generative AI to somebody who's not tech savvy. And Bing says generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create new things such as pictures, words, sounds, and more. It's like having a very smart and creative friend that can make you anything you want from scratch. And Bing has said that they are going to use the outputs of these to improve the accuracy and relevancy of search results over time. Also note they actually have references there that are clickable. So from a website owner perspective, you could still get clicks from this answer. The Google demo was different. It did not have references. So here's Google. Google's calling their chatbot Bard. It's powered by Lambda, which is a conversational search engine, which focuses on the intent of searches and is trained on a dialogue. It's built on Transformer, which is a neural network that Google research invented in 2017. Here's Baidu. So the Ernie bot is going to be available sometime this month. They have said that this is going to incorporate generative AI into their search algorithms, also be involved in content creation, and they're going to add some other interactive features. And in case you're wondering, I use this art.ai driven image option to generate what a artificial intelligence thinks that Sesame Street's Ernie combined with Baidu would look like. Here's DuckDuckGo's option. So as you can see, pretty much every search engine is adopting some sort of chatbot. And it's right at the top. So let's talk about whether or not you can use AI to save yourself some marketing hours. Ultimately, yes. That's the whole purpose of the presentation. But there's actually a not yet peer-reviewed, but a research paper from MIT looking at the productive output of people using ChatGPT. And they actually found that ChatGPT users were 37% faster at completing tasks, and they had no sacrifice in quality. Though I will say that I think there might be a caveat depending on what type of activity you're using artificial intelligence for, and most of it should be human reviewed. But yes, it will save you time. So AI, in this presentation, we're going to walk through all these different tactics, things that are involved in doing marketing, and the different software and ChatGPT prompts that you can use. All right, but before we get there, let's talk about some caveats. This is the most important one. All these AI bots were actually trained to sound confident, and that's regardless of whether they are providing an answer that is accurate. They like to create confident sounding bullshit. So just keep that in the back of your mind as you're using the tools. Here's some examples of that. So when they rolled out the chatbots for Bard for Google, they mentioned that the first photos of planet outside Earth's solar system were taken by the James Webb Telescope, but NASA said that's not accurate. Bing's first AI demos had mistakes related to features of a vacuum and figures related to a company's financial report. And then if you've been following this at all, you know that some of these early chatbot instances, the chatbots have started to have signs of emotions and arguing with the user and having existential crises. Interesting stuff. The other thing to keep in mind is that ChatGPT actually mirrors your intelligence. So if you're using it to create any sort of copy that you're going to use for your target audience, you need to prompt it to actually write in a lower reading level if you're college educated. Also, ChatGPT was trained on words from the internet, which means that some of that stuff could be copywritten. Same with DALL-E. ChatGPT can also pick up on the internet's biases and stereotypes. and it won't have more recent information as it was trained on data in 2021. Now, big question is, should you use AI to generate all of your content? Absolutely not. Two reasons. One, it's not against Google's guidelines. In fact, they rolled out new updated guidelines related to AI-driven content. Here's their quote, and it says that if the content's helpful and created for people first, then it's not an issue. But our core systems look at many signals to reward content clearly demonstrating EEAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And I've actually linked to Google's content guidelines down below. I recommend everybody who's writing content that you want to rank in search engine what goes into Google's guidelines. And if you're in a type of topic that is your money or your life oriented, so the content that you are putting on the internet could impact somebody's money, life, health, happiness, then you have a higher level of EAT that you need to meet. And in fact, you can, if you're ever curious about where search is going related to demonstrating this kind of stuff, there's a 9-person team at Healthline, and it's very fascinating to see how they modify what they're doing to truly demonstrate EAT. And at the moment, every article has all these details around the people that wrote the article as well as the person that reviewed the article, and it's just a really good example of trying to go straight to the full meaning of what Google is wants you to do to demonstrate expertise. Now, can a computer do that? Well, I don't know, because humans need to study a subject about 10,000 hours to become an expert. I think at the end of the day, perhaps a chatbot is not going to demonstrate the level of expertise needed to rank well. In addition, and I was actually exposed to this when I went to the Word Museum here in DC, it turns out that AI, unleashed on the internet, can figure out who you are as a writer. So they actually discovered J.K. Rowling's pen name, because it turns out that regardless of what name she writes under, she has the same fingerprint in both of the types of her writing. So if AI can figure out who you are as a writer on the internet, and they know who you are in relation to expertise, can you fake that? I'm not so sure. If long-term SEO, I would not recommend a strategy that is not double down on being very clear about who you are and what your expertise is when you're writing on the internet. I think that will win more than doing some other strategy. All right, but with all those caveats said, let's dive into what marketing tasks you can actually use AI to help you with. One, learning new information. So here are some prompts around learning that you can use in ChatGPT. So if you're stumped on something because you're just having a hard time understanding it, you can use ChatGPT to explain it to you. Audience research. So here's a couple of prompts for ChatGPT. So you can feed it what your target audience is and then have it write content that connects with that target audience. You can also ask it based on the target audience what the pain points would be for that target audience. That's particularly helpful from an SEO perspective. It's not the same as keyword research. So if you do keyword research, you get this information without demographics attached of what people are searching for, the topics they're searching for. But it's more interesting to see if ChatGPT knows that there's a demographic behind that pain point. Here's a tool for audience research. Now, mind you, I realize this is a little bit more for a SaaS business, but this tool will let you analyze all of your team's communications with your target audience and give you a summary of how to ensure that they are engaged with you versus not. Brand voice. So I've actually used this for a client. I think it's fascinating. So you can give it content from a thought leader and then have it export to you the style, voice, tone, and adjectives. Basically create a brand voice document based on someone's copy. And then once you've codified that, you can actually have ChatGPT modify content you created to make sure it matches that brand voice. Writing. So there's a ton of prompts related to writing. Again, these are just samples, and in fact, in the downloadable, I've got even more. But you can have ChatGPT help you write a white paper. You could have it help you improve landing pages, which is very interesting from an SEO perspective, because if you have a landing page that's not ranking very well, perhaps your content has not been comprehensive enough. And ChatGPT can help you figure out what subtopics you haven't covered. You can also have it improve your overall site content. So if you want to make sure that your site's comprehensively addressing an entire topic, it can look across the entire site once you feed the URLs into it and the URLs and the titles and figure out what content you have not published yet that you should. Here's two examples of tools to help you with writing. The first one is Grammarly, which I use all the time for editing and grammar. And I love it, frankly. So there's a few tools in here that I can recommend that I've used directly. The one down below is Jasper.ai, which has definitely been used in the search world. And it can write across a variety of things, as you can see. It can help you with social media copy, advertising, articles, emails, website copy, etc. All right, email. So there's a couple prompts here so you can have it help you develop a webinar email, do cold outreach email for whatever, create an email drip sequence. And I know since a lot of folks on the phone might be nonprofits, I actually had it create a fundraising email. So I used to work with this food pantries in my hometown and help them with digital marketing stuff. And I know that come March, they do not have donations anymore from farms. They're buried in snow. And so anyway, I had it write a fundraising email related to that. It's pretty decent. Here's a couple tools. The first one is a bit more sales oriented, but it helps you generate AI messages based on sales. And the one on the bottom is copy.ai. It writes a variety of things. It's for writing in general, but also can help you with, as it says, high converting emails. Image creation. I don't have any ChatGPT prompts here, but I do have some prompts for other things. So this is Midjourney. This is the prompt that I used, and these are the 4 images that it cranked out for me. And there's a whole art to creating prompts. And I have some places where you can learn more about becoming more experts at prompts in the guide. And this is Lucid Pics. So these are stock photos of non-real people. These are AI generated. This is DALL-E. So the one on the right actually stole off the internet that was generated by DALL-E. And the one on the left was me generating a photo of rainforest destruction. It's the first thing top of mind because I created a nonprofit related to trying to solve rainforest destruction issues when I was a kid. So AI generated, not real. Website features. So the first one, the one on the top helps you create chatbots. There's actually a ton that will help you do free chatbots for your website. The one on the bottom is kind of intriguing for me. So it prompts you with, asks you questions, and then the AI actually builds the website for you. So it does the visual, it does the pages, the forums, the analytics, etc. Data analysis. So here's an example of using it to generate regex. So that way you can dive deeper into Google Search Console data. I've actually used this for a client, similar, not the same regex, but I was interested. This is a client, it's a big academic journal, lots of URLs. I need to only see a certain subset, and it's not necessarily related to URL structure per se. And so anyway, or not folder structure at least. And so I had ChatGPT through multiple iterations finally help me narrow down to regex that would work. Because if you can find regex and put it in Google Search Console, you can then see what keywords are driving to a subset of pages. Yeah, across a year's worth of data on a 2 million URL site. Very powerful. So here's a couple more prompts. You can have ChatGPT help QA your code. You can have it generate schema.org markup. Now, keep in mind, I've tested the schema.org markup, and depending on the markup you are trying to do, it might not be fully accurate. So this is me attempting to create a schema.org markup for the Central Park Conservancy. Now, same as schema.org markup is you telling Google, I am the same as these other things on the internet. It helps feed the knowledge graph, which I just talked about. I think it's important for everybody to put this on their website. But the important thing is to make sure that when you do the same as, all of the links to the profiles are you, not something else. And even though on the website homepage, which is what I fed into ChatGPT, it had all links to all of its social profiles, this markup missed their Pinterest and incorrectly put in their YouTube channel. All right, data analysis. So the one up top is actually going to help you generate SQL without knowing SQL. You can just talk to it and it will generate the correct SQL. It's kind of amazing. And the bottom one also makes me very excited. There's a variety of different tools where you can add ChatGPT to your spreadsheet, Google Sheets or Excel, and then just talk to ChatGPT in order for it to formulate things, create a new formula, manipulate your data, etc., without actually knowing the formulas or how to use the features in the spreadsheet to make it happen. All right, technical SEO. So there's a couple prompts. You can use ChatGPT to generate an XML sitemap or modify a robot text file by just talking about what things you want them to crawl, not crawl. There's two different tools here related to technical SEO. The first one is similar.ai, which is actually Blue Array just partnered with them. So it's a AI-powered offering to manage all of the SEO on your website with AI. So determine what pages you might need to be created, which ones you want to collapse, how to restructure things, the whole deal with AI. So that's kind of fascinating to me. The bottom one is called landing.ai, and it actually helps you label all the images on your website. So if you have a website with a lot of images and for whatever reason you haven't actually put alternative text in there, alt text, you're not ADA compliant and you're actually potentially liable for a lawsuit related to not being ADA compliant. But if you have a lot of images, it is best practice to generate it by humans. That's a lot of work depending on how many images you have. So you could use computer vision to get you partially the way there. So have computer vision generate your alt text and have a human review. Presentations. There's a couple here. The top one is beautiful.ai. The bottom one is Tome, and it does both AI, like traditional presentations, as well as sort of web demo-y things. And that one is integrated with DALL-E, so it'll actually generate images for you too. Videos. So these are two videos. These are actually from the same company, but I'm going to start playing them so you can hear them. So that's D.ID. Play the second one. All right, so those are AI actors, right? All AI generated, nothing, no live human there. Podcasts. So there's a couple prompts for podcasts. You can actually feed it all of your episode titles and maybe a little bit of the description. Tell it what your podcast is focused on. I can tell you what other content you haven't covered yet and it would recommend that you would cover based on what your podcast is focused on and your target audience. This has been super helpful for me. You can have it write episode. I need to edit this, not write title and episode titles. You can have it write episode titles and descriptions for topics. And I've used this one as well, so it can help you write interview questions. So say you're going to have an expert on the show in a topic that you're not an expert on, it will actually recommend questions that you should ask the expert. Now, there's a couple tools here. This one I also recommend because I use it is Capshu. So it is AI and it generates all of the writing pieces around your podcast. It'll do title, description, show notes, blog posts, the email that goes out, as well as all your social media posts. I used to have this done by a virtual assistant, but honestly, the output from Capshu is better. So I generate it with Capshu and then I edit it. But it's much more engaging than what my VA was doing. The other thing you can do with some of these tools is say you want to experiment with AI voice for your podcast instead of your voice. Here's an example of that. There you go. That is a fake voice. All right, social media. A couple prompts here to use ChatGPT. The top one I've used actually, so you can prompt it to help you write an entire social media calendar based on the topic of your client. You can also have it write posts for specific platforms, and you can have it repurpose information. So you can feed it your language in a blog post, and it can create the social media posts that go along with it. So let me show you an example of that one. So I have an entire page that talks about SEO for associations and academic journals. So you don't see all of it there, but I fed it the entire page, and then I had it generate social media posts related to that with appropriate hashtags. Not too bad. There's a couple tools here. The top one I would be dying to play with because it's fascinating to me. So it's a combination of Lately, which is AI generated, and Hootsuite. So it will use your social data and the posts that you've been generating and the interaction with those posts to figure out what keywords, phrases, values, copy, images, etc. work best for your target audience on social. So each following group of followers, and then it will help you generate similar content that would engage better. I need to fix the formatting of this one. It's driving me crazy. The bottom one is SocialBee, totally free. Some of these tools are free and some of them are like subscription in a variety of costs. But that one actually for free will help you generate all sorts of posts for different social platforms. Project management. So I have two different tools here. The top one I've not played with, the Digital First AI, though I'm intrigued by it. So using natural language, you can talk to it about your marketing problem and it will generate an entire strategy for you as well as help you manage bits and pieces of it, including your team. So that's kind of interesting. And then the one down at the bottom is called My Mind. So again, envision Ray Kurzweil's idea of outsourcing your entire brain to the internet. That's kind of what this is doing. So using natural language, you can search across all of the things you might have squirreled away and saved related to, I don't know, link building for SEO. And so it can look at bookmarks, notes, articles, images, videos, etc. So that's intriguing too, especially for those of us that are digital pack rats. Automation. So two different tools here. So the top one is pretty straightforward, the Bardeen. That actually automates, it creates automation, but instead of having to know what trigger and action to use, you just talk to it in natural language and it generates the automation. So that's kind of cool. And then the bottom one, Practically Me, this was also be helpful back in the writing or maybe social media bucket. So it'll mimic your thought patterns, opinions, and style. So it basically creates a digital copy of yourself. So it would be interesting to use this to load up content from a thought leader, or you if you're the thought leader, and then have it generate new content in that thought leader voice. All right, so how would you get started integrating this in your organization? So the first things you need to do is prepare your team. You need to set up what your goals are going to be for AI, talk about the limitations that we know of, make sure the staff are meeting regularly to share insights amongst each other, so that way you're learning with each other. Make sure everybody has the tools they need. So if you need to send them to some training, make sure they've got the subscriptions to the tools, etc. You're going to want to establish some policies. Make sure you've got a framework for when, as an organization, you're going to use AI and when you need to use people. And make sure that all that content is human reviewed. That'd be my one huge recommendation is do not take anything ChatGPT generates or any of these tools and just publish it to the internet. If you are going to do that, we'll see in the next slide. I'd recommend you do it as an A/B test so you can see if it works versus just relying on it. And please don't do it for content that you want to be ranking in search. You want to come up with some process to make sure everybody is staying up to date. If you're going to be integrating AI into your existing organization data, I would just make sure you're really examining what the risk might be of doing that and making sure you're taking steps to mitigate it. That's the A/B testing I was kind of talking about, and use the outputs from that A/B testing, and use that to determine when you're going to use AI in your marketing strategy moving forward. All right, let's talk just a little bit about the societal impact of AI. So this is the one that bothers me perhaps the most. This, and I'll show you in the next slide, is the fact that they spew confident bullshit. So these are two examples of ChatGPT spewing stuff that was fake, causing real world drama. So in the first instance, it was a German geocoding company. They offer an API, and ChatGPT was saying that they would be able to turn a phone number into the location of the phone. And that disappointed users, damaged their reputation, got the company involved in squashing a rumor, frankly lying on the internet. And the second one was also spreading another false rumor, but this was in China, that this Chinese province would end alternate day number plate driving restrictions, which caused confusion, police investigation, like all sorts of drama, fake rumors, confident bullshit. Just remember. And the reason it bothers me is that human behavior in the internet. So if you take what we currently have without the chatbots, so in Google, you've got these featured snippets and knowledge panels. Now, I know how those are generated, but it turns out that the folks searching who don't have a search background, 80% of them think that these features are accurate and objective. They're not. The feature snippet is competitive. There's some hacks you can do to get in there. The knowledge panel is pulled from largely Wikipedia. It is their knowledge graph, but it relies heavily on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is volunteer edited by men. So neither one of those, I believe, are objective, and oftentimes they're not accurate. And this researcher from Zurich says that these chatbots might have major implications because oftentimes the model could misfire, the chatbot could hallucinate, or spread misinformation. There's also a challenge of AI and artists, and I have artists in my family. So on the left, that's an AI piece of art that won an art competition up against humans. There's some ethical concerns there. And on the right is artists that are frustrated by the fact that their copywritten art is being fed into DALL-E and used for new art that they are not getting compensated for. And so instead, they started loading up corporate IP and playing around in ChatGPT to generate images off of that as a form of protest. There's also this carbon impact. So training an AI model, as you can see in the graph, creates a huge amount of carbon, huge. So training a single AI system can generate 250,000 pounds of carbon. And the use of AI, I need to fix the formatting on these bullets. The use of AI technology across all these sectors actually produces a comparable level to the entire aviation industry. And this merging of AI with search is going to create a 5-time increase in the computing power necessary and the associated carbon after that. So the stuff is not great for the planet. And I don't know if we have a legit plan to offset. Let's talk about how it's changing SEO really quickly. So ultimately, as I've been watching machine learning and AI for over a decade, knowing who you're talking to and your target audience is key to being successful in all of this. Personalization in your search results or on your social platforms have been around forever. So you really need to understand your target audience's language, where they hang out online, and all of that's going to be essential to both SEO success and chatbot success. And I think human expertise is still going to matter when it comes to ranking. So I would make sure that you have a plan for that. I think brands should still create engaging content that helps solve user problems, but do that knowing that you're trying to get the information to be seen on a platform that uses AI and personalization. And everyone should be prioritizing an organic discovery strategy, but then convert them to your list. And that's because we've been seeing with knowledge graphs and knowledge panels, organic clicks have been decreasing, and this chatbot stuff could potentially decrease it even more. So when you get them, make sure you convert them. Don't make them have to find you again. So what have we learned today? So we've learned about how AI has been used and is being used in organic search discovery. I've walked through a couple use cases for how you can use AI in your marketing strategy, how to safely use it for your SEO work. We've talked through the limitations, the chaos AI might cause for society, and next steps for training and tools. And here's the guide I've been talking about. You can feel free to download that. It also has additional learning resources. If you get content and you're wondering if it's been generated by ChatGPT, I have 2 content generators. I need to put the name there of both of these instead of just hyperlinks. And if you have any ChatGPT prompts that you'd love, I'd love to get them. So feel free to send me an email. Thank you all. I'm here for questions.